Hello.
Yes, sir.
If I am audible, then anybody can respond in the chat. I'm actually not getting whether I'm audible or not.
Sir,
Yeah,
your voice is audible clearly.
clearly audible. Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay. So let me start. Yesterday, I mean, in the last class, we started with the the continuation of SDLC, that's the system development life cycle, that consists of different phases, and we follow different phases in order to develop a new system or upgrade or modify the existing system so as to meet the requirements of the customer in current time. Suppose you have already a system in last like before 10 years, now after 10 years your requirements changes, the market requirement changes, the technology changes, the customer requirement changes. So you have to upgrade the existing one, or you have to replace the existing one with a new one. So for that, we follow the SDLC, that is the system development life cycle. So that we discussed in the last class. Now coming for today class, today we'll come up with the remaining part of the second unit, that is the fact finding techniques. What are the fact finding techniques? So far, if you will go for the system development life cycle, you have to first go for the requirements, okay, the feasibility study, the requirements analysis, why the customer is interested for the new system or to update the existing system. So that is what the customer wants, the customer's need, the customer's requirements have to be purely understood. So you have to analyze, you have to collect, and you have to summarize the requirements, the wants of the customer's needs or expectations from the new system or from the updated system. So there are different ways to find the facts. Okay, so basically, there are 5 widely used fact finding techniques. There are 5 widely used fact finding techniques, like examining, documentation, interviewing, observing the enterprise in action, research, and questionnaires. So if we go for any fact finding techniques that is used to collect the facts, to collect the requirements, the needs from the the customers. You say, is it visible? The slide is visible.
Yes, boss.
Yeah. Okay. So you see, there are basically, in theoretically, we are saying 5 ways to collect. The only thing you see, after getting a background knowledge, it's the role of the analyst to begin for collecting the data on the existing systems outputs, inputs, and cost. The different ways, as I told, it can be interviews, that is asking the questions, then preparation of the questionnaires, asking the questions and writing or noting the answers given by the customers or the clients, then observing the current systems, then gathers the forms and documents currently in use, determine the flow of data through the system, and clearly defines the system requirements. So these are the 6 ways that the fact-finding methods to collect the facts, data. Now, why the fact-finding is required? You know, each and every business house or organization, firm or sectors has its own rules and regulations, along with the procedures to run and manage it. When a system needs to be developed, the system analyst needs to know the requirements of the system. Depending upon those requirements, the system has to be developed. I told earlier in my last 2 to 3 classes that, you know, as a manager, whenever you are going to develop a new system or you want to upgrade the existing system, you have to first understand how the existing system is working. If it's a new system, it's okay. You have to go from the grassroots, you have to go for the requirements, then feasibility study, then you propose. But if the system is already exists, then you have to first understand how the existing system is working. What are the inputs, how the existing system is processing those inputs, what is the output produced by the system. So after knowing everything, okay, then you can go ahead, or the system analyst is proposing the new system or is proposing the way the existing system is to be developed. So the first technique, as I told, is the interviews. Okay, see, these are the questions which is normally asked. In interviews, you have to ask the clients, the customers, one to one, by a team of experts will ask the customers, the clients, the stakeholders, those will be affected by the new system or the upgradation of the existing system. And you can ask different questions, you can ask different views of the customers, the clients, or the stakeholders. So there should be preliminary interviews, and after that, detailed interview, the people who actually operate the system will be carried out. You know, 2 types of interviews will be carried out. One is the preliminary interviews. Preliminary is just asking about the suggestions or the opinions, but those people are actually using the system, or they are actually operating the system. They will definitely go for the further second round of interview. That's called the detailed interview. So this is not exactly required to develop a new system, but also it is used to upgrade a system, because sometimes it's found that they also may be the ones most afraid of the change, especially they feel that computer might replace them. This is the term I used to say, like whenever the Infosys developed the first time the banking software, that is Finacle, that time when it is used, the people started to afraid of losing their job. They even knowingly they did not use it, because they thought that if the software will do, the computer will do, then they will lose their job. But later on, it was trained to them that software is for them, to help them, not to replace them. Then that software is used with high success rate, and it is used now all the banks in India and in almost all the Asian countries. So like an investigative reporter trying to discover who, what, when, why, and how of a store, the analyst should conduct the interview in such a way that people provide honest description of their jobs. So the interviews will be carried out in such a way that the stakeholders, the customers, the clients, they should provide honest answer about the question. Now, the following questions will help. Who is involved with what you do? What do you do? Where do you do it? How do you do it? The way you do it. Okay. Then do you have any suggestion for the change? Do you have the suggestions for change? So interviews help gather vital facts about the existing problem, such as a lack of quality control or sufficient security. Same time, the analyst will involve the people in change process. When the system is changed, the stakeholders will be asked to involve so that they will understand and they will not hesitate to use in the latter. Always and for all situations, interviews are not appropriate fact-finding methods because interviews is for the time being. So that time, depending upon the customer's mindset, depending upon the customer's, choice, so the customer may give the appropriate answer or may give some, biased answer. The slide is it the page is moving?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are certain advantages and disadvantages. The advantages will be, there will be a physical interview, then it will be better to study the body language. So it is an effective technique to gather information about complex existing system. The interviews allow the systems analyst to obtain better clarity of the problem due to feedback from the interviews. The interviews allows the system analyst to get individual views and without any disturbance from others, because it will be one-to-one, the interview will be done, and get the specific problem work-wise, operation-wise. There are different disadvantages, as I told, because interview is not always the best fact-finding technique, because interviews are very time-consuming, because you have to arrange the place, you have to ask for them to come the meeting place. So it's a time-consuming. And success of interviews depends on the systems analyst interpersonal relationship skills. Let's say the interviewer who is taking the interview is very experienced and friendly. Then the stakeholders, when they are going for interview, they may give everything. They may say everything. They may say everything. But the interviewer, if it's not user-friendly or a little bit strict, so they may hesitate. So that the success of interview depends upon the interpersonal relationship skills of the system analyst or the interviewer. And sometimes the physical interview is practically not possible. Like in the Corona time, attending the interviews physically is next to impossible. So we are doing the logical interviews. So there are two types of interviews. One is structured interviews, another is the unstructured interview. Like as I told, we have structured problem, unstructured problem. For structured problem solution, we use the MIS. For unstructured problem solution, we use the, what system will use? Anybody? For structured problem, we have in the, in the management arena, whenever any problem is to be solved, the problem nature will be first verified. The nature of the problem will be either structured problem or unstructured problem. For structured problem solution, we use the MIS, the Management Information System. And for unstructured problem solution, which software is used? Anyone? I told in my class, it is the DSS, decision support system for unstructured problem solution. And for both structured and unstructured problem solution, it is the ESS, executive support system. You try to remember this. So like that, the interviews will be done, structured interviews or unstructured interviews. In structured interviews, there is a specific set of questions to be asked by the interviewer to the interview. I mean, specific, like this is the classroom is a structured classroom because you have a specific syllabus. I am following, you are also following. Okay, but unstructured interviews are where the question is total depends upon the interviewer. Who is asking the question? It depends upon that fellow. So that fellow can ask any question. Like I think you have visited any job, for any job, there is no specific question to be asked. Or you are going for some debate, there is no question specific. I have seen in the, you might have seen in the television, whenever any debate is going on anything, anybody can say anything, anybody can ask anything. So that is what not related to the current topic of the debate. So that is the unstructured one. Conducting interviews and art. I told, because it depends purely upon the interpersonal skills of the interviewer. It also depends upon the experience, expertise, and the ability to voice the stakeholders during the interview so that the stakeholders will feel free to share their real facts. Then arranging, it will be there. And for successful interviews, you can ask questions, record the interview, because to avoid any type of, corruption, to maintain the transparency, you can record the interview and you can check a final one. The second is the group discussion. Interview is done one-to-one. Interview is performed one-to-one. Whereas this is one type of fact finding where facts will be collected from individual without the knowledge or without the disturbance from other customers or the clients. Suppose there are 5 people who are using the system, you ask one by one, they will come and they will give their suggestions, they will give their opinions, they will give their views. That is what called the interviews. Now, the second is the group discussion. Group discussion, a group of staff members are invited who are expected to be well versed in their own wings of the organization. It's normally happening. Group discussions is normally happening. Suppose, let's say, the director of DDC wants to know what is the course progress of MCA, MBA, like BA, PG. So the director will ask all the course coordinators in a meeting and will discuss the things. That is a group discussion. Everybody is allowed to share their own opinions. But the people who will be invited, you see, this is the check line, first line you see. Is it visible, the group discussion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see, in group discussion, a group of staff members are invited who are expected to be well versed in their own wings of the organization. Like, as I told, course coordinators will be invited, clerk will not be invited, peon will be not invited because they are not expertise. They don't have sufficient knowledge on that. So it is expected that the persons will be asked for the group discussion should be well versed, well acquainted, sufficient knowledge in their own wings or own course or own department of the organization. The analyst will have a discussion with the members for their views, their opinions, their suggestions, and responses to various queries posed by them. So in group discussion, everybody is freely allowed to share their views on a common topic. Like DDC director will put the topic up to what time all the courses will be completed, then examination will start. So MBA coordinator will say some time, MCA coordinator will say some other time, BA coordinator will say some other time, PG coordinator will say other time. I think if some of you are from the technical background, like engineering background, whenever we go for any campus placement, we face the group discussion. I mean, after written test, if you qualify, then there will be a GD, group discussion. The GD is normally, you know, there are certain approach, like everybody should participate and everybody should put their views either in the positive dimension of the topic or in the negative. That depends upon the concerned customer or user or the student. So in this process, the individuals from different sections gather together and will discuss the problem at the hand. Ultimately, they come to an optimum solution. In group discussion in GD, the problems of all sections are taken care of. Most of the cases, the solutions are found which are acceptable to everyone. The main disadvantage is that it is very difficult to get all the concerned people together at the time. See, group discussion is a common platform, where several experts from several departments will sit together to discuss a common problem, and a common solution. All experts' views, suggestions, and opinions will be respected, and a common solution will be found. But the most important problem is that, you know, as you are saying, doctors differ. In Odia, we are saying Nana Munikara, Nana Mata. So it is very difficult to have a common solution which will be accepted by all the people. That is next to impossible. And second, it is also not possible to ask all the experts at the same time because they may have different assignments. Okay, so this is what the group discussion GD. Two major disadvantages. It's a very common, well-known platform where common findings will be collected, common solutions will be achieved by putting the question open to all. They will give every expert will say from their own angle. So sometimes some new solutions will come out. Every expert's views will be respected. But the problem is that common mutual acceptable solution is next to impossible to find. Because let's say 10 experts are there, 9 may agree, 1 may not agree. And it is normal happening. Because you can't force your things into someone's mind. And the second disadvantage is that it is very difficult to get all the concerned people together at that time. All experts having one time is not possible. Next, the third type of fact-finding technique is the site visits. It's normally happening. I think you have seen in the news, whenever any unwanted events happens, any unwanted situation happens, the political parties, they send their 3 to 4 members to the site, to the place where the incident happened. So site visit is actually the interactive mode of fact-finding technique. Here, the engineers of the development organization visits the site. So they will have a practical knowledge. They will have a real knowledge. Usually the system analyst visits sites to get first-hand information of the working of the system. In this fact-finding technique, system analyst watches the activities of different staff members to learn about the system. When there is confusion about the validity of data collected from other sources, the system analyst uses the method of site visits. Site visit is the most important interactive fact-finding techniques. Most important interactive fact-finding techniques. Yes, anybody wants to say anything? Can you please Unmute, mute yourself.
Jana Naik, please mute.
Jana
Jana
Naik.
Naik. Jana Naik, please mute.
Okay. So actually, the site visit is the most interactive mode of fact finding techniques or data collection techniques, you say. And it will be, it will be normally used whenever there is any confusion on the developer's mind or engineer's mind about the working of the existing system. They basically go to visit the site. So there are the advantages, as I told, the process of recording fact site visit is highly reliable because it will be, you will get real information. I mean, you will have a practical exposure to see how the existing system is working. And sometimes the site visits take place to clear doubts and check the validity of the data. Site visit is inexpensive when compared to other fact-finding techniques. But the most important disadvantage is that most of the time, the client side, the stakeholders, the users, the customers, they feel uncomfortable. They feel uncomfortable because they want to hide something which they will not able to hide. So they will be not comfortable. That is what the the problem of psychological problem. Because if somebody is watching you, then you will not get free hand to do your work. So that is what the second, due to interruption in the tasks being observed, the information that is collected may be inaccurate. And the site visit is done in a specific period of time, not entire throughout the 24/7 for 1 year or 2 or 3 years. It will be done for short span, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week maximum, that is. So in that period, maybe the system is performing something which is actually not performing in other days. That could be also the situation. So it will also have the disadvantage. Then the next technique is the presentation. The presentation is the most effective way of finding the facts and collecting data. I'm teaching, whatever I'm saying, you may not be able to listen, but you see, I'm showing you the slide so that, you may not listen to me, you may not understand my wordings, but you can read it. So this is another effective way of finding the facts and collecting the data. Presentation is the way by which the system analyst gathers the facts and knowledge of the project. It will make a graphical presentation of the existing system. Then it will ask the customers, the stakeholders, and it will start presenting the things it collected so far. It's normally happening. I think I've seen also whenever the chief minister is asking the ministers to show their progress of their concerned department, they're making a PPT presentation. That's a PowerPoint presentation. They will have the slides where they will write the things, they will put the pictures, and you'll find in most of the times, you'll find in most of the times the presentation is effective in explaining your thought process, your understanding, your vision, mission to the stakeholders. So presentation is another effective way of finding the facts. The next is the questionnaires. You know, questionnaire is a common method. It's a common method to collect the data from large and small group of people by developing questionnaires. In depth of planning, usually more than in one draft is necessary. You see, whenever we are going for any written test, a question is given to us. Sometimes we say the question is very easy. Sometimes we say question is very difficult. And sometimes we say question is medium. So questionnaire design is very critical. Questions should be short, easy to understand, unbiased, non-threatening, and specific. And this is what we are normally following while we are setting the questions for the university examinations. We follow the syllabus strictly. We ask a question within the syllabus and within the standard set by the universities. Like you people have 12 mark question, 512 out of which you will attend any 3, 8 marks out of which you will ask any 3, then 5 marks, then you have to attempt any 3. So that is what we follow the things. But whenever you ask the question for the stakeholder, the question should not be a lengthy question. Like you will take 5 minutes to ask a question and customer will take 1 minute to answer. Not like you ask in 1 minute, let the customer will give the answer in 5 minutes. Customer will explain the things. So the questions should be short, easy to understand, unbiased, non-threatening, and specific. To make sure the questions will stimulate the needed information, the analyst can test them with 1 or 2 outsiders before widespread distribution. Suppose you want to find the facts about the DDC. Your question should be asked on DDC, like how many employees in the DDC, when the course was established, how many students are got admitted. So, but you should not ask the question when Utkal University established, who was the vice chancellor of Utkal University. That is not related to at all. So that is what the point I want to say. But to make sure questions will stimulate the needed information, the analyst can test them with 1 or 2 outsiders before widespread distribution. So there are different ways of asking the questions. Questions will be asked in 4 ways. That is one, the MCQ, multiple choice question. So you will ask the question, you will give 4 answers, out of which one option will be selected by the customer, by the stakeholder. Then open-ended response must answer the question in their own words. You give some space. You write which the vice chancellor of, let's say the vice chancellor of Utkal University. So you give space. Let them write. Or which the vice chancellor of the Utkal University give? A. Rama, B. Sama. 3. Professor Sabita Acharya. 4th. Professor, let's say N. Nagar. That is what the first the MCQ. Then open-minded, who is the vice chancellor of Utkal University? Give space. Then rating. You give the rate satisfaction. Let's say I'll ask the question, how I'm teaching. Very good, good, worst, very worst, or not acceptable. Then rank, you can give the ranking questions. What are their, let's say the priority. Suppose you will ask the priority of a student. The first priority is to score more mark. Second priority, to be an engineer. Let's say it's a 12th class student, you will ask the priority. That fellow will say, I'll be, let's say, go for the, become an engineer, doctor, then society service, then marriage, then family, then parents. So these are the ranks you will have. So the advantage is that it is an inexpensive means of collecting the data from large group of individuals. It requires less skill and experience, but the sum is that the number of respondents is low. Because people is normally not interested to take part in the questionnaire part. Okay, so that is what there is no guarantee that the respondent will answer all the questions, because you can't make mandatory. You can make mandatory like in the Google form we are doing, but sometimes the question will be skipped by the individuals. Sometimes the individual may misunderstand the question. Because if you ask who is the vice chancellor of Utkal University, somebody may thought who is the vice chancellor of, let's say, Sambalpur, let's say, may interpret, or let's say, unless something like the question, which is not understood by the stakeholder, the customers or the clients. So they may give some incorrect question answer to this question. So that is not useful. Okay, so these are the 5 types of fact finding techniques. Okay, now coming to the next is the DFD. The next is the little bit technical, we'll discuss DFD. Now the DFD stands for data flow diagram. The DFD stands for so to start with the DFD, so what is a DFD? DFD is the data flow diagram which exactly shows what data will move to what direction and from which component to which component. So you have to create a list of activities. You have to construct the context level DFD, that is the simple 0 level DFD. Then you can go for second level, third level, fourth level. But for you people, second level is up to second level is fine. So the external entity will be the noun, data flow, it will be name of the data, process will be the verb phrase, a system name or subsystem name, data store will be the noun. Now see, I'm directly giving you one example, I'm showing one example so that it will be easy for me to understand. You see, this is a DFD, the data flow diagram. You see that is the square box. Square box is representing a noun. It's representing an entity. So this is, you see, this is left is the customer, then employee in the right, then vendor. These are the 3 actors. These are the 3 stakeholders. These are the 3, you say, the users who are busy in using the system. That's a Lemonade system. So you see the customer is a customer will order, you see in the first arrow mark direction, that's from customer to the process. That's a system, the software. The system will receive the order request. Then it will send the product shop request. Then it will give the payment. So this is the online ordering of the products or services. The customer will place the order to the system. The system will shop the product. After that, the payment will be done. Now, once the order it is getting, now this is so the process, the system will search whether similar products are there or not. But that is, that is the internal one. So whenever one employee will see, one employee will use that system. This is a customer is an outsider. Whenever an employee, that's an insider, will use the system, it will schedule the production by using the system. The system will give a sales forecast, how many quantity of the concerned product is required by the customer. It will do a forecasting of the sales strategy. Then accordingly, the production schedule will be decided by the employee. Okay, then the time workload, okay, the time work will be provided to the system. Then any vendor, they request for the goods or services, they will be accessed by the system, and it is the system, okay, which will be further enhanced. You see, this is the next expanded level of the DFD. Expanded level of the DFD. See, each circle is a process. Each circle is a process. Sales is a process. Production is a process. Procurement is a process. Payroll is a process. But that is represented by a circle. But if square box is an agent, is a stakeholder, is a customer, is a employee. So you see that further expansion is done to give the clarity. Customer will put the order, customer order, that is, you see the first line connected to the sales process. The sales process will process that and it will order the product. Now the production team will see, the production process will see whether the concerned product is available or not. If the concerned product is available, then the production process will serve the product to the customer. After the customer is getting the product, then it will start payment. Or once the product is confirmed, it can do the payment before delivery. Or it can do at the time of delivery also. So this is what the DFD for you people, just you have a basic knowledge. And I'll share you the slides, don't worry. So you just remember data flow diagram. It identifies what are the processes involved in the system, who are using the system, and who is affected by the system. So any customer, any client, any vendor will be represented by the square box, and each process will be represented by a circle. Okay, by a circle. And it will be named. The process will be, sale is the first process 1.0, production is second process 2.0, procurement, I mean, you just maintain one is sequentially. So the process will be numbered so that customer can directly go to the production. It will go to the sale it will forward to production will send the product to the customer. So that will be maintained sequentially. Okay.
Nothing great gets done without a team.
Is it okay? So this is all about, for the DFD. Now coming to the next one is the flow chart. The next is the flow chart. Now what is a flow chart? Flow chart is the graphical representation. Flow chart is the graphical representation of flowchart is a graphical representation of the algorithm. Now, what is an algorithm? Algorithm is a step-by-step solution to a given problem. Suppose, let's say, I'm now in DDC. After the class, I want to go Kotak. So the algorithm is that I have to go to the bus stand, sit in a bus. Bus will reach Link Road. I'll leave the bus, then I'll reach in the Kotak. So representing that in a graphical way is the flowchart. Okay. So now let me show you one flowchart. Just 1 minute. So flowchart, as I told, is the graphical thing. So this is, I'm giving one small example of a flowchart. Is it visible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see, flowchart, as I told, it is a graphical representation of the algorithm, and algorithm the step-by-step solution. You see, the flowchart will contain a circle that will indicate the start, and it will also contain a circle that indicate the end. In between the process, you see the input, this is the start, then decision. If decision 1 is taken, then process 1 will be executed, 2 taken, process 2 will be executed, and process 3 is taken the decision, so process 3 will be executed, and the action will be taken accordingly. So this is the flowchart, is the only the graphical representation, and you go for any problem solution, you will have definitely a flowchart. I think if you have visited also any old or new or the upgraded institution like universities or colleges or NITs, IITs, you will find in the first gate there will be a flowchart showing which department in which direction with the proper arrow mark, and which department in which direction and how to move or approach that department. So that flowchart is a graphical representation, so it will be better to understand, easy to understand, and most of the times it provides error-free and ambiguous-free, informations to the clients, to the customers, or to the stakeholders. Even in the management fellows, they use the flowchart to represent the work process that is going on in the department. I think you have seen any university, the hierarchy of the management, you know, that is represented by a flowchart. Let's say the chairman, the CMD, then board of directors, under one director, number of managers, one manager, number of sub managers, then one manager, so many employees. So that is the level of hierarchy. If I go for the flowchart of our state, CM at the top, parallel with the governor, then under CM, so many ministers, under minister, each minister, one secretary of that department, under one secretary, so many assistant secretary, deputy secretary, okay, additional secretaries will be there, one additional secretary, so many section officers will be there, one section officer, so many clerks will be there, you know, so many PNs will be there. So that will be the the flowchart. So flowchart is a graphical representation. It's a graphical representation of of the problem solution procedure, so as to avoid any type of misunderstanding, any type of misrepresentation, any type of ambiguity. And normally the flowchart provides accurate, error-free, and clarity of the steps used to solve the problem. The steps used to solve the problem. So this is what all about, I think, for you people. Sorry.
Sir, again, student normally the phone calling.
This is,
Flow
you know,
chart,
the flow chart is normally used. The flow chart is normally used as the error-free, ambiguous-free, and clarity method of representing the procedure adopted to find the solution for a given problem. If you write the same problem in text, the client, the customer may not be able to understand, may not be able to read what you have written, may not be able to, you know, interpret. But if the same will be represented in a graphical, okay, if the same will be represented, you see, it is represented graphical. If we write step 1, start, step 2, take decision, step 3, process 1 will be executed, or step 4, step 2 will, process 2 will be executed, so step 5, process 3 will be executed, next step, action will be taken. So instead of writing this thing in text, if I write in the graphical notation, if I represent in the graphical notation, then it will be easy to interpret, it is easy to understand, and easy to visualize also, because graphical representation will be have always single meaning, unique meaning. Like if I present the tiger figure, it will be tiger around the globe. But you see, like we are in Indian English, we are writing color, COLOUR, but in American it's COLOR. So that is the difference there. So text representation sometimes, not always, sometimes may be ambiguous, sometimes maybe you have written something, the customer read something, understood something else. Like if you are using certain dual meaning words to your friend, the friend, if he is very close to you, he will take it very lightly. But if he is a normal friend, he will take it seriously. So to avoid this type of ambiguity, you know, that this type of difficulty in understanding the problem, so it is better you represent this thing in the graphical way, and in the graphical representation, it will be giving more clarity and precise to understand the procedure adopted for finding the solution. Okay. So the coming to the last of your unit 2, that is where the security and control. Security and control issues in information system. You see, whatever I told so far in the second unit, you know, we basically discuss SDLC, how to develop the system. Then we discuss fact-finding techniques. Fact-finding techniques, how to find different facts. Fine, that's fine. Then we discuss the DFD, data flow diagram, to represent how data flows. Then we discuss the flow chart, how to represent the solution, the problem solution in graphical way. But the main thing is that how to make your system secure, because you follow the information system where the data, the information will be stored in a system. And how to make secure, because your data, like you are using WhatsApp, we are say using Gmail, our data is stored in a server outside India. Then whenever I'm sharing any data with some of my friends, now how can I ensure that that data I'm sharing will not be visible to the third party whom I don't want, or it should not be accessible to the third party. My data should not be accessible. So the security and control issues in information system plays a significant role. It plays a significant role. You will be very surprised to had Janna Naik, could you please? Okay. So you know, the information that is stored in the information system, or the data that is stored in the information system should be secure. Now, how to secure those? What are the steps you will take? And what are the controlling issues you have? So whenever I'm talking about the security concerns of the information system, it covers a large and wide spectrum, and you'll be very surprised to hear that the system is secure, but up to 95%, not 100%. None of the system nowadays, they are 100% secure, because you may have many applications, you may have many steps taken for the maintaining the security. Like we are using the firewall, we are using antivirus. Okay, we are employing the security personnel for physical security. But you know, we have so many ways to achieve the security, but there will be the threat in the security. The control which we are using in the system is basically two types. One is the general control, another is the application control. One is the general control, another is the application control. Now, since we use the firewall, we use the antivirus, we use the encoding, we use the decoding, so many techniques we adopted to ensure that the data and information will be secure. But same time, control also can be secure. I can use the control operation to make the system secure. Now, how it is? Let's say, like in our home, the Godrej where the money is kept is only accessible by our parents, not by us. The key is shared by them, not by us. Let's say any final decision in a state will be taken by the chief minister. That is a control. Minister cannot take. In country, prime minister will take the decision. So like that, the control, you can have different control. You give certain control to somebody, you don't give certain control to somebody. Like, let's say is a teacher. Teacher cannot take the decision whether class will be held or not held. It is the director who will take the decision. So that control is there. What to taught in the class, that is not also the control of the director, that is the control of the teacher. So general control consists of hardware control, software control, computer operation control, data security control, then implementation control. Along with application control is basically based on the specific application, like word processing, data processing, inputting, outputting. So on this, the application control will vary. So depending upon, the control type, the others will be isolated, others will not be allowed. We are giving the, let's say for example, whenever you are using any email ID, you are giving user ID and password. Now, whenever you put your user ID, the password you will give, you will be first verified. That if the password is correct, then you will be allowed, to enter and do whatever you want. That is the authentication step. Once you are authenticated by the system that yes, you are the actual owner of the email ID, then you will give in the privilege, the authorization to do the things. So password is first authentication, successful authentication, you will be given the privilege, that is the authorization to do that. If you are not given the exact password or the calculated password, you are not authenticated. So second step, authorization will not come to you. So by defining the control, you can also somehow protect the system. Like in DDC, all control or financial decision, any final decision will be taken by the director only. So that is the control is on the director hand. Nobody can take it. But what to teach in the class, that's the control on the teacher's hand. So director will not going to affect or interfere what will be taught in the class by each teacher in each class. Similarly, a teacher cannot take the final decision. It is the director. Teacher can propose. The director has to take the final decision. So the application control will be specifically application based, but general control. So defining as a whole, using the antivirus, using the firewalls, using encoding, decoding, okay, you can make the system secure along with defining the control strategy and creating a control environment where the system will be used by selective and authorized person. By selective and authorized person, the information will be visible to only the required and authorized person. Let's say what is the detailed employees in the DDC that can be visible to the director. It should not be visible to a third party or outside. Or who is the employee, what is the nature of the employment, what is the nature of the duty. So everything, it will be displayed to the concerned users, and the information or the data will be shared to the respective and authorized person. Okay, so this is all about your second unit. And if you have any suggestions or query, you can say. Anybody having any suggestion, query? The class is open. Anybody wants to say something? You can unmute yourself.
Sir,
Yes.
is there any notes for security and control issues and information system? What you discussed in the last?
Yeah, I'll share you.
Okay, fine.
Then anything, any doubts or any suggestion?
Sir, you just described that there are two types of security. One is running for the application, running for the software, and another you said that to function the. I'm not clear about that.
Computer. Okay, that comes under general control. On general control, we have hardware control, software control, computer control, data operation control, then implementation control.
Okay. Second one.
Second one is application control. That depends upon specific application, like word processing, okay, like video editing, okay, like photo editing. So specific applications, depending upon the specific application, specific control will be defined.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. So we'll continue the next class. Okay. Yes. Okay, so let me